one of Danny's former coaches, is now coaching his former team. We have an NBA Finals to look forward to, and we're doing that because Game 7 did not go the way that the Boston Celtics had hoped. Trying to be the first team to ever come back from an 0-3 deficit did not take place. Miami Heat get the dub, 103-84. It really wasn't entertaining unless you were a Miami Heat fan. So let's go to Danny, a guy who knows his fair share about being in the NBA Finals, having won 3 NBA titles. Danny, first question. Why aren't the Celtics, the team who seemed like the most talented team on paper, not in the NBA Finals?
Yeah, less entertaining is a nice way to put it. They got smoked, but they're not in the NBA Finals because we talked about it time and time again, just of the immaturity, the lack of immaturity this year. And I think it's a lot to do with the rotations being changed, and of course, the coaching change. You know, a lot of Joe Mazzulla's first year, and I think he did a amazing job of adjusting. But it's his first year. Don't expect him to know everything and make all the right adjustments, but it's not with him. I think it starts with the players because a lot of things that happened on that floor, those guys can police themselves. You know, they looked very bright-eyed. They looked very rookie-ish in the first, half where they were rushing a lot of threes, taking a lot of attempts, and a lot of bad attempts. They weren't great attempts, and they missed a lot of them. The reason why they missed a lot of them because they weren't good attempts. And, Miami's been there before. And not saying that, Miami's not a good team, but we all know, I think everybody in the series knew it was frustrating to watch because Boston, in everybody's mind, was the better team. If they played the way they were supposed to play, they win the game, especially at home playing like that. It was tough to watch. It's tough to watch a lot of games. You never know what Boston you're going to get. Even in the Philly series, they won 7 games. In my Atlanta series, they won 6 games when they shouldn't have. They're a very talented team, but I think the immaturity got to them, the best of them, and it's hard to put yourself in a hole 3 games and expect to win a series like that, which they could have made history tonight. But the immaturity really showed tonight. And, the lack of discipline and some of the bad shot selections and turnovers. Even with all that being said, they were in the game at some points in the game with how bad they were shooting.
Yeah, no, it's disappointing to see the Celtics go through this yet again. I felt like you and I, when we were covering the finals last year, talking about the finals last year, it looked like the Celtics should have won the finals last year, but it was immaturity, turnovers. And today it was even worse because you had Jayson Tatum. He had the ankle injury pretty much in the first couple minutes of the game. That hurt them. Jaylen Brown, 8 turnovers. But overall, Danny, I'm not a Celtics fan. I'm not a Celtics fan, but I'm frustrated.
Think either of us are. But you want to see good basketball. You want to see a good Game 7. You want to see the better team at least, if not win, make it a game. You know what I'm saying? To get smoked at home on a Game 7 series on your home court, that's tough to watch, especially the way they've been playing up and down all year. But kudos to Miami, man. Give them their flowers. Caleb Martin, in my eyes, should have been Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Jimmy obviously played a hell of a whole postseason. But this series, they're not in these games, or even the games they lost, or winning these games without Caleb Martin. And it's just it's very clear and obvious to see who was changing the game for Miami.
Yeah, we'll talk about Miami in a minute, and we'll have a whole week and a half, if not 2 weeks, to talk about the Miami Heat because they are now in the NBA Finals. But let's focus in on the Boston Celtics for just a little bit more. So here's the conversations. I'm going to predict the conversations that are going to happen, Danny. Well, as soon as we turn on the TV tomorrow morning, here's what you're going to hear. Number 1, Joe Mazulla is unfit for the job. This team relies on too much threes. He's got to go. Number 2, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum. They've tried this thing over and over and over again. Jaylen Brown now eligible for the Supermax. They're about to pay over $100 million. They're gonna pay over $100 million just to these 2 guys alone once their deals start kicking in. Especially going to be more punitive when that second apron and the new CBA comes in. People are gonna say, you know what they're gonna say? Time to break up Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Your thoughts? Joe Mazzulla's future as the head coach of the Boston Celtics. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown as the future duo of the Boston Celtics.
I think, well, for Joe Mazzulla, I think he did an amazing job for year 1. And considering the circumstances that he came into the job, coming from behind the bench and now head coach, I think he did a great job. So I don't think he should be fired. This is year 1. Let him get his feet wet, get his feet under him with this team. I think they give him another shot, another chance at it. But you never know in today's NBA. See, Monty got fired, which was crazy to me in my eyes. And a lot of coaches got fired. And you can go down the list from Bud to Doc. All these coaches got fired, and you're like, why? But Monty, to me, was outrageous. This wouldn't be outrageous. I wouldn't be shocked by it. But I do think he deserves another year, another chance, considering that it's his first year. Jaylen and Jayson, they've been successful, man. They've been a lot of Eastern Conference Finals, and they're only maturing and getting better. I think another year together and hopefully having a set, stable coaching staff with Joe and having a set rotation. I don't know who they pick up, who they figure out who moves, who doesn't. You keep Grant Williams, Robert Williams. It's going to be a chess match with that. It's with every team every summer because not a lot of free agents. There's going to be some pieces that be moved. You said that cap and that second umbrella that's coming to happen. Teams going to have to make moves. But I think ultimately you keep them together and you find ways to continue to keep them healthy and get back to it. Because when they're healthy and they're back to it, they're the top 3 teams in the league, and all it comes down to is being healthy and playing at the right time, like Miami did, getting hot at the right time. Milwaukee had a bad stretch of games. They didn't play well at the right time. To us, best team in the league, they lost the first round. Boston might have been the second best team in the league. They're out of the playoffs right now because they just had a bad stretch during this time. But I think with those two, you're going to be very successful. Now, I think you give one more year and see. If not, I think you should wait on the Supermax extension. Is that a possibility? Because I wouldn't throw it out there right away until.
I don't think I think you run into the risk of not putting that on the table. Then you're gonna really start to rub people the wrong way, rub agents the wrong way, and then you
lose him for free, lose him for nothing.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, you could end up in that situation too, and that's obviously not something.
But you won't lose him for nothing. You'll get something. You'll get something for him usually.
Of course,
but
of course.
I don't. I think that's too much money for those two guys. I mean, obviously on one team, I think those guys both deserve those contracts. I just don't think on one team to handle, because then now you're eliminating your supporting cast. You're not going to be able to keep Grant Williams. You're not going to be able to keep Brogdon. Derek White, who makes a good penny, he's going to make another good penny coming up. How do you keep those guys on payroll if you're giving those two, the bulk of the bread? So it's going to be interesting to see, man. But I do think you try to find a way to keep them together for at least another year. And with Joe, and then if it doesn't work out after that, then I think it's maybe time to make some changes, some real changes.
Yeah, it's roster building is about to become very difficult in the NBA because of the CBA this summer, predicting a lot of movement, which is one of the reasons why, as well as this young core of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum have been over the course of their career. If you are a front office, you would be derelict in your duties if you don't at least explore what else is out there. All right, let's turn the page on the Boston Celtics. I'm sure they'll be getting all types of roasted in media over the next 72 hours. Again, it's not that they lost, it's how they lost. Yes. Having no other pitch other than the fastball is just sigh-worthy, disappointing. Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
Who have been coached up to an NBA Finals level. Danny, you last saw the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals. We'll talk about how they shape up against the Denver Nuggets in the finals, but let's just talk about this series specifically. I thought that the Boston Celtics were going to win because I thought they just maybe started to figure out Jimmy Butler. They stopped jumping at all the pump fakes. Bam Adebayo has not been efficient in the paint, but here comes Max Strus. Here comes Gabe Vincent. Here
Duncan
comes
Robinson.
Caleb Martin. Here comes Duncan Robinson. Here comes, hold on. This is how nondescript this team is. I got to make sure I get the name right.
Kyle Lowry.
Hold on. It's loading. Oh, my Wi-Fi.
Kyle Lowry, Kevin Love, Highsmith.
Here comes Haywood Highsmith. Yeah. All of these guys that you're not paying attention to. Eventually you are. You know what they do, and you still can't stop them. It's because Spoelstra, because of that, I hate to say it, but I gotta give a props now to quote unquote #Heat culture. They're in the finals again, Danny. And I know you probably didn't predict this to happen like this. No. I know you had them beating the Knicks, but to see them back in the finals, my word.
No, they proved everybody wrong. They're shocking the world right now, unbelievably. I did not have them winning this series. When they up 3-0 and it came to 7, that I couldn't trust Boston this game 7. I did think they would win this game 7. I thought Miami would. I didn't think it would be like this. I didn't think they would smoke them, but I thought it's hard for Boston to win 4 against any team. There's a reason why in history, 150-0, to come back down, 0-3 and win the series. So I did think Miami would win this game, but no, I did not think. And realistically, they shouldn't match up well against any of these teams they beat, except for the Knicks. Milwaukee is not a great matchup, especially without Tyler Hero. Boston's not a great matchup. Neither is Denver. But when you got your bench or your undrafted players averaging 56 points throughout a series, you can beat any team out there. You can win any game. Duncan Robinson, Highsmith, Caleb Martin. I said, in my eyes, Eastern Conference MVP. No disrespect to Jimmy. Jimmy deserves his flowers. He's been killing and carrying that team all postseason. But this series, Caleb Martin kept them afloat even when they were down, losing, and in winning games, helped them win games. But they finally brought Duncan Robinson back in the lineup, used them some, not just a three-point threat, but cutting to the basket, getting some easy layups. Kalo, came alive, played well. Strus hit some big, timely threes. Gabe Vincent had hell of a games. He was averaging 18 at one point, shooting 58 from the field, 50% from three. So when you have that type of supporting cast, man, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. Even when Bam and Jimmy weren't having great nights, they were still in the game. Last game, they won. They should have won last game, Game 6. And Jimmy and Bam had the worst games probably of their careers, damn near, because the others kept them in the game. Tonight, the same. Bam didn't have a great night. He ended up picking up. Jimmy started picking up later on. He had a decent night, but it wasn't playoff Jimmy like, him giving you 40, 50 points or 30 points. He had to me, it was like a quiet 29. But, because those others said it doesn't matter who they're playing. They have a chance. And I think this Denver series is going to be not as easy as everybody thinks it's going to be, especially if those guys keep playing the way they're playing. It's going to be hard to do that for 2 series in a row. But yeah, we will see. We'll come find out.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Denver series after the break. But real quick, give me your insight on that zone that was so successful for Eric Spoelstra tonight in Game 7. It completely forced the Celtics to just look at the three real quick. That zone, what were your thoughts of it?
They did a great job because they knew what Boston was looking for. I think that if they work their way inside out, which is not a bad theory, but sometimes you just got to work your way inside in. And, it just looked weird. The shots that they were taking, it didn't look natural. Even when Tatum caught at the foul line, it was wide open. He took a free throw line jumper. Not used to doing it that way. He's just shooting a pull-up mid-range off the pick and roll, but a catch, turn, and shoot like he's in high school or college in the zone. He hit the backboard and came up the rim, looked like a weird shot. So those type of shots that they were getting was not something they're used to doing. I'm sure they'll go over at some point next season of how to go against certain zones. But, they junked it up. They junked the game up. It was kind of a Nick Nurse type of situation where they made it, outside the box, throwing some things at them, didn't know what. By the time they figured it out, it was too late. But yeah, the zone was very efficient. And as long as they boxed out and got rebounds, I think Boston did not a great job of trying to get to the rim, get to paint more, and obviously use their size of offensive rebounding and finishing at the rim. But they, Miami made them do what they wanted them to do. And that's, take awkward shots, work the inside out, and take contested threes, which they missed.
My only regret of this series going 7 is that Eric Spoelstra didn't have a wealth of time to prepare for Nikola Jokic. But I am excited to see because he's shown they can queue up some stuff that could really mess up some teams. So with that being said, we might as well break down the NBA Finals. Nikola Jokic versus Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and the Miami Heat. We'll break that down right after break. Be right back. 1. The Denver Nuggets will open the NBA Finals at home at Ball Arena as big-time favorites, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 420. Big-time favorites against the Miami Heat to win the whole thing. Let's go to the guy who's got 3 rings in his trophy case somewhere. Danny, let's start with the Denver Nuggets, the big-time favorite to win. Give me your scouting report.
From the Denver Nuggets, I'm going to want to try to push the pace as much as possible. You know that they're going to try to attack Jokic. And every pick and roll, you got to do the same on the other end. You have to make Jokic attack Bam and give them different looks. Jamal Murray has to continue to push, and they have to use their size. I think that they push the pace, try to get as much pressure on the paint, and also try to kill them on the glass and rebounding with Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. Those guys are going to have to come up big with also guarding Jimmy and guarding Bam and kind of slowing down the others. I think they have a lot of pieces. KCP playing unbelievable, but as long as they push the pace and use their size to offensive rebound like they did against the Lakers, I think they have a really good shot of winning this series.
Yeah, for sure. That altitude will definitely play a factor as well. We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's go to the Miami Heat back in the finals. Last time you saw them in the finals, Danny, you were part of the Lakers. It was a 2020 bubble. I don't know what was on that scouting report, but I imagine maybe some of that is relative to the series against the Nuggets now. 1 minute, the Miami Heat scouting report.
If I'm Miami, I don't doubt them that they don't know how to play against a team like this because they've played like this in the past. They played through Bam. They know how Jokic likes to pass, and they have like backdoors. So Miami at one point played the same way. They'd had backdoor cuts playing through Bam. So they know how to stop that. Send everything up the floor Don't double Jokic. There's going to be a Bam Jokic series. Bam has to step up and be that defensive player that he's been the last couple of years, and hopefully be a defensive player type player. And hopefully they take some things the way Lakers did. Have Bam off him sometimes when he needs a break and be help side, weak side. But I think you play Bam and him one-on-one, and also I'm say muck up the game, but slow it down a little bit. So that you have a shot at and offensively, you got to attack Jokic. Put him in every pick and roll, attack Jamal Murray, put them in every situation so that they wear him down. And while the time they get the offensive end of the floor, that they're tired, they're maybe not making as many shots. But the key is that for them, not to muck it up or slow it down, but to play one-on-one against Jokic and send everything up the floor, but also attack Jokic and Jamal Murray in every pick and roll possible.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why the Miami Heat might feel optimistic about their abilities to play in the pick and roll against Jokic, Chris Haynes is reporting that Tyler Hero is targeting a Game 3 return in this NBA Finals. Tyler Hero broke his hand Game 1 of the Eastern Conference first round against the Milwaukee Bucks. DG, I think I know the scouting report. Of course, you put Jokic in pick and rolls, but they just played against Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns. They just played against Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. They just played against LeBron with D'Angelo Russell or Austin Reeves, whoever you want to think might be a pick and roll partner. And also AD was there. Why weren't those teams able to expose Jokic in the pick and roll? And why could the Miami Heat potentially do that?
I think they did at times. They just weren't consistent with it. And I think they let Denver just outscored them at most of those games. They pushed the pace, outscored them. In some games it was ugly, but I think for the most part, you got to be able to put pressure on them, but also get stops. You got to find ways to not only stop Jokic, but slow down Jamal Murray. Make sure Aaron Gordon doesn't kill you. KCP and Bruce Brown, those guys, those others, they only go about 7-8 deep. So you can't let Denver outscore you, especially when they're having a bad night shooting. But I think they probably could have went to it a little more aggressively. Lakers, and they found ways that to hide Jokic. And Jokic is not as bad as people say he is. He's not just not there. He's going to step up and play. He's an MVP player for a reason. He's going to make some defensive plays here and there. But you have to wear him down some more and as much as possible, and put him in as many as you can, and don't let them outscore you basically.
Jokic averaged, I believe it was 42 minutes in that Western Conference series against the Los Angeles Lakers. During the regular season, he only averaged 33 minutes a game. So he will come in rested, obviously, because they swept the Lakers, but there's going to be a lot of, they're going to be asking him for a lot. Frankly, you know what? They're going to be asking him to be the MVP, which is something he's been twice in his NBA career. So if he plays his MVP standard, if he makes Eric Spoelstra feel like we can't guard him one-on-one with Bam, then everything starts to open up for the Denver Nuggets, and it becomes a world of trouble. That was the thing for me when I saw them versus the Lakers. I'm like, well, the Lakers have a chance. You got Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis can guard him one-on-one. Was not the case. This guy is spectacular, and the whole world is about to see. With that being said, DG.
End of the day, you can't let the others beat you. The others are going to be the others, and who's going to outplay who and others is going to be the determining factor of these two teams. And that's the Caleb Martin, the Duncan Robinson, Max Strus against Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, KCP, Bruce Brown. Those are the guys going to be the guys that determine who's going to win the game. Obviously, Jamal Murray and Jokic going to do what they do. Bam and Jimmy going to do what they do. Hopefully, Bam and Jimmy do what they do. I know, Jimmy is. Bam sometimes. They both sometimes inconsistent. Some games they may have a bad game. But so does the other side. Jamal might have a bad game here and there, but the others are going to dictate and determine the rest of the series.
I think Aaron Gordon is going to be huge in this series. I think he brings the physicality that allows him to guard Jimmy Butler. If he brings the discipline, aka not falling for the pump fakes, the Heat are really going to be waiting and hoping that Tyler Hero can be a contributor in this series, if that turns out to be the case. With that being said, we'll do quick predictions, Danny. We could do our little more X and O breakdown later in the week. I got Denver Nuggets in 6. I think Gordon and KCP can guard Jimmy Butler, especially KCP can spend some time on Hero when he comes back in the series. And I'm not denying Jokic no more. He gave AD the business one-on-one. I'm sorry, Bam. I'm going to think he's going to do it to you too. And I got Nikola Jokic Finals MVP. Real quick. Who wins? How many games? Finals MVP.
There's not many times we agree, Harrison, but on this one, I will say we are spot on, kid. And I got the Nuggets in 6 as well. Nikola Jokic, Finals MVP. Jamal Murray's having a huge series, but I think Aaron Gordon is a big key. And I thought he was going to be a big key in the Lakers series, which he was, his size and trying to limit and contain Bron, AD, they'll switch down the line. But I think this one he'll be even more better. He'll be better than he was in last series and more of a valuable piece or intricate part to their success. And if he does play defense the way he can and rebound against Jimmy the way we know he can, then they're going to be champions.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for sure to see the Heat pull this out. But hey, we thought it was going to be tough for the Heat versus the Bucks.
Yeah, man,
I personally thought it was going to be tough for the Heat versus the Knicks.
We bet against Jimmy too many
real
times.
Tough for the Heat versus the Boston Celtics, and they keep on
I didn't think
denying
Heat
everything that makes logical sense. So who knows? But end of the day, if you want to take down our predictions, we both got Denver Nuggets in 6. Nikola Jokic, Finals MVP, backing up years. We're coming after the year where he won his second of back-to-back MVPs. Would be quite the run for the Serbian center balling for the Denver Nuggets. Be right back after the break. We talk about one of Danny's former teammates helping out another big man in the league, Nick Nurse, now the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. We break that down after the break. We're back with more Inside the Green Room. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Inside Green Room, and on Twitter, Green Room Inside. Real quick, Danny, before we get out of here,
yes, sir.
Your former head coach, the one that helped you get your second NBA championship, Nick Nurse, is now coaching your former team. Nick Nurse, the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, a played out joke that I saw on social media. I saw it too many times. They replaced Doc with a nurse. Come on now. We knew that one was coming. With that being said, Danny, what is the best part, rather yet, of Nick Nurse being the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers is?
The best part about him being say that again? Or like what's the best
part?
thing?
The best part of him being the Philadelphia 76ers head coach.
All right, so that's a little different than what you said. The best thing, like, so the best part of it, there's many ways to interpret that. The best part about him being the head coach is the fact that him and Joel have had so many battles, and you can see through the media, I won't say the intensity, but the little bit of back and forth they've had, even on the court. But I think also the best part about that, and hand in hand, is that they know each other and respect each other pretty well. Also the fact that I think Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey kind of have a similar mind. So the best part about that is that I don't know what Philly's going to do in terms of James or who's coming back and who's traded and who's not. But the people they do have there, I think they will respect him and like him because of the fact that they've had battles against him and they know how he coaches and they think he's a really good coach. So, yeah, and Daryl Morey said him and Daryl Morey think very much alike.
Yeah, I do think there will be some innovativeness maybe with some of the offense as well, because I think Nick Nurse will be able to predict some of those unique defenses that Joel is going to see in the playoffs, like he saw this past year. He talked about how much that pick and roll really got shut down once the Boston Celtics used Robert Williams and Al Horford in that starting lineup. Nick Nurse would maybe be able to predict that a bit better and be more prepared, because that would be something that he would have done if he was on the other side. He's frustrated Joel a number of times in his career. Probably, I think he's the only coach to hold Joel to a 0-point game.
Yeah, and under 10, like multiple games. I think he's held him under 10 probably, I think 2-3 times.
Yeah. So
crazy.
Joel will probably be a better player for it. Now, will the roster be as good as it was this year? We'll find out. Speaking of another head coach that is out there in the market, Frank Vogel is still out there. Danny, you caught up with your head coach that actually helped you win your third NBA title recently. How's Mr. Vogel doing?
He's doing well, man. We got a chance to catch up a little bit. We chop it up here and there. He lives in the area where I live in. We kept in touch. He's a great person, let alone a great coach. And I know he was up for a couple of job interviews. I wish him the best of luck. We caught up some. I would really like to see him, back coach. He's a really good coach. I really see him back in the league coaching a good group. I think he's very capable. And, said he's waiting to hear back. I think now that most of the jobs are being filled up, there's only about one left or so. So we'll see if they call his name. And if they do, you never know. Might meet the guy again down the road in the near future. So we'll see.
Yeah, the Phoenix Suns job is open. The Detroit Pistons job is open. And finally, the Toronto Raptors job is open. I distinctly remember when I first asked you about Frank Vogel after you first met him, after you went through the training camp, the thing that you told me repeatedly, you loved how detail-oriented he was on the defensive side of the ball. And obviously those Lakers, the team you won a championship with, man, were y'all good defensively. So whatever team gets him, I think they'll be very happy. We'll see what happens in this coaching cycle. I'm sure we'll do a podcast once that kind of finalizes itself. But once again, open jobs, Detroit Pistons, Toronto Raptors, Phoenix Suns. We'll see how it all plays out. And we'll see how the NBA Finals plays out as it starts Thursday. Make sure you are subscribed so you know next time we get up on the mic and do this thing once again. Until next time.
Read, rate, subscribe, review.
I'm Harrison Sanford. Read, rate, subscribe, review. And again, I'm putting this on wax, Danny. Nikola Jokic Finals MVP.
Okay.
Nuggets winning in 6. I'm putting in my ticket now. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Good luck, man. I hope you win some big money.
See you guys next time.
Peace.